Welcome to Out of the Loop Into the Hoop Bear Plushie tutorial. Today we're going to be making an embroidered in the hoop bear plushie together. Let's dive into some supplies we're going to need. Obviously we need our embroidery machine and files. We're going to need a faux fur or minky fabric for the body and inner ears. Next we're going to need some smooth minky for our face, snout, and belly applique. We're also going to need our embroidery hoop. Next up is stabilizer. I like to use a 2.5 ounce cutaway. We're also going to be working with wash away stabilizer since we're using minky. We're going to need a variety of threads and bobbins, our scissors and rotary cutters, pins, turn tools, chopstick, tweezers, and pliers. Some polyfill for stuffing, and the option of poly beads if you're adding weight. And finally, we need a hand sewing needle and thread. Now we're going to talk fabric. First, I'd like to talk about the stretch and the pile of the fabric. The stretch is going to be the direction that the fabric stretches, and the pile is the direction the fur lays. We're going to be working with the stretch going horizontally and the pile going vertically. For fabrics, we're going to need 2 body pieces, one for the front and one for the back. We're going to need a matching fabric for the outside of the ears and a contrasting fabric for the inside of the ears. Next, we're going to need 3 pieces of applique fabric. We're going to need one that covers the face area. We're going to use a smaller piece for the snout. And then we need a 3rd piece that's going to cover the belly area. Now let's get ready to dive into the hoop. For the first part of our pattern, we're going to be working on the bear ears. With a piece of stabilizer already hooped, we're going to lay together the outer ears and the inner ears right sides together. Then we're going to move to our machine and let them stitch out. When they're done stitching, we're going to remove them from the hoop, cut them out, and then carefully turn them right side out. A chopstick can come in handy here, especially when working with small pieces. Now that our cute little ears are done, we're going to be diving back into the hoop for the bear body. Again, with a piece of stabilizer already hooped, we're going to be laying down the front piece of our bear body. Here I'm just organizing my applique fabrics and choosing a thread color that matches the body. Next, we're going to go ahead and tack down our fabric with the body outline. I like to pause and add a tag at the leg here, but that's totally optional. Now we're going to be working on some applique. The first applique we're going to be working on is the face. Now all of my appliques go around with a single stitch and then is immediately followed by a back stitch for an extra secure applique. Now you have the option here before moving on to the nose applique to cut the excess fabric from around the outside of the face, but since I'm working with the same thread color and same fabric colors, I decided to just stay put at my machine, stitch out all of my applique pieces, and then move to my mat to cut them. This is just easier for me, but whatever process is safest for you. If you're a beginner, I highly recommend cutting all of the fabrics one at a time before moving on. Now that we have all our excess fabric trimmed, we're returning back to our embroidery machine to run our zigzag stitch around all of our freshly cut applique pieces. This gives it a nice, crisp, clean look. Now we're not worrying at all about any faux fur getting tucked into our stitching here. When we're all done, we can take a pair of tweezers and gently pull that faux fur right out from under the clean stitching. Cut some wash away stabilizer and add that over top of our face. I got a little excessive here and covered the body as well, but you really just need to cover the face area. I'd also like to note here that my preference is to use pins, but a lot of people use painter's tape to hold down their wash away stabilizer. I've just found that I struggle to have it stick to some of the minky fabrics, so pins are my go-to. Once we have our wash away stabilizer situated, we're going to move back to our machine and we're going to follow our stitch order. At this point in the video, we've already have our eye whites done and our eye color. Now we're working our way through the cheeks. Now we have the longest stitch out in this pattern, which is the eyebrows, the eyes, and the mouth. Next up, we have pupils, and then finally we are going to finish off our stitching with our heart nose. Next is one of my favorite parts. We're going to be moving off of our machine and peeling away our wash away stabilizer. Now, if you have any stubborn little pieces around, this is where our tweezers come in handy. Now we're moving back to our machine with our ears. This is probably the most difficult part of any in the hoop plushie. To attach the ears, we're going to put right sides facing together. We're going to line up the edge of our ear with the edge of our needle. With our presser foot raised, we're going to sandwich the ear beneath the presser foot and then lower it down. You're basically going to be sandwiching your ear down right at the start of the stitch, and then you're going to be gently holding it in place while it stitches all the way across. The key here is patience. Pause your machine and really take your time. Let's talk through this one more time. We're going to be lining up the edge of our bare ear, right sides facing down, directly under the path of our needle. We're going to be lowering our presser foot directly onto our ear to sandwich it in. Then we're going to be holding our fingers as close as we can safely and just guiding it through the stitch. Whew, that part always stresses me out a little. Now that the hard part's over, here's an easy step. We're going to be placing the back side of our body fabric right sides down and then moving over to our machine. I like to gently stretch my fabric as it's going around the body outline. This just helps keep everything smooth and even. Now it's time to take this baby out of the hoop. Next up, we're just going to be using a nice sharp pair of fabric scissors and cutting this baby out. Work your way around the entire outside edge. Very careful not to cut into any seams. Now when you get to this area here, we're going to be leaving a little bump out for our turn hole. This makes it a little easier when we go to stuff and to hand sew it closed later. The next step here is another part that stresses me out just a little bit. We're going to be taking our sharp scissors and clipping really close to the corners and the curves. I like to pay special attention to the neck specifically and under the arms. I also like relief clips around where I put my care tag and where we added our ears. Clipping these close to the seam ensures that we're not going to have any weird puckering when we turn our baby right side out. Now with a pair of pliers, I like to reach inside and find our ear. I squeeze onto our ear and I hold on tight while I pull it out of the turn hole. After I get out as much as I can on my own, I like to take a chopstick and smooth out any spots that might still need turned. This is especially helpful on really small size plushies. Oh my gosh, he's just so cute. Now let's really bring him to life by getting him all stuffed. So the key with working with polyfill is to take really small pieces at a time. We're going to first start by working our way around the outer area of the head. Now this process can seem a little bit daunting, but I promise it's worth it. I've really found that working in just little sections at a time to create a strong head shape is well worth it. Now after I have the outside edges, I like to go and stuff the arms so that when I put my poly beads in, the poly beads aren't going to go into the arm area. So here I'm filling the center of the head with poly beads. Now if you chose not to weight your plushie, you can just go ahead and continue filling the head with polyfill. After you have the head done, again, in really small pieces at a time, we're going to be working on the neck area, and then we're going to move down into the leg that's furthest from the turn hole. Since I'm adding poly beads, I'm leaving an empty space in the belly area. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my poly beads to the belly. I like to use a chopstick to just kind of help mash them down in, and then I push my finger down to just get them into the actual belly area. Now I'm just finishing up here by stuffing the outer leg, and I also like to turn it over and just put a little bit in the booty area. Just to get that outer leg stuffed really well, again, I found a helpful tool here is a chopstick. Look at this squishy little baby, how cute. So our last step is to just take our hand sewing needle and thread with a knot at the end and create a ladder stitch to close it. To create a ladder stitch, we're going to be taking our tied needle and thread and running it into the inside of our turn hole. Then we're going to be working from left to right, taking small bits off of each side and pulling it tight as we work our way up. Once we reach the top, we're going to secure it with a couple knots, at least 2 to 3. And then we're going to be putting our needle into our plushie, pulling it out of it a couple inches away, and then we're going to be clipping our thread. This is called burying the thread. Now the last step is to go ahead and squish around all of that polyfill and poly beads and really fill out all the edges of your plushie. Now you're ready for snuggles. I hope you had a great time with this pattern. Thanks for joining me and getting out of the loop and into the hoop.